Hey, this is Jacques Talafero. I'm here in the Bayview, and we're at the Black Cuisine event. Now we're continuing the series Race. And what is race about? Race is about the race for mayor here in San Francisco. So right now we're here with this lovely young lady. So tell us a little about what you're doing here and what's going on.
Hi, I'm here from the San Francisco Department of Elections, and we're helping people register to vote today.
In the past 40 years, San Francisco's black population has shrunk 40%. In June of 2018, the city was poised to elect its first black woman mayor. This is the story of that race. Let's meet the candidates.
London Bree, President, San Francisco Board of Supervisors currently, and the supervisor from District 5, London. Welcome. Amy Farrow-Weiss, homelessness activist. Where are you? Hi, Amy. Hi, Amy. Richie Greenberg, a businessman and advisor. Welcome. Jane Kim, San Francisco Supervisor for District 6. Welcome, Jane. Ellen Lee Zhao, public health worker. Thank you. Mark Leno, our former California State Senator, Senate District 11. Mark, welcome to you. Michelle Bravo is supposed to be with us tonight, but is not going to be able to join us.
But what's on the minds of the people?
We are right now in the process of getting the Arthur Coleman building declared historical so that we can preserve some of our history in the Bayview. Hunters Point. We won't know Bayview in 5 years. The gentrification is real.
A lot of people we spoke to brought up gentrification.
I would say that hopefully the focus in the race is on issues like gentrification and the development of areas that displaces families and homes to places that, you know, they're not accustomed to and where they can't thrive and continue to survive in ways that people should be allowed, particularly in areas that they have history and generations of families. So hopefully that's something that's discussed and maintained throughout
Well, you
the
said
race.
you're from Los Angeles. I went to school in Los Angeles, so I know a little bit about LA. And I think really from town to town, to city, the issues are kind of the same.
Absolutely, all over the country. Absolutely, they are.
So what is your opinion, young lady?
I mean, I agree with all of that.
So I think what has happened in the past is gentrification, and it's systemic. It's been put in place a long time ago, and it doesn't really matter who the mayor's been. The racist system continues. And so that's why Willie Brown was in, and there was gentrification. So what my hope is with London is she won't make that same mistake. She won't forget that she's black and become more interested in making it better for everybody and forget that she needs to make it good for black people too, and make sure that we can come back to the city.
But what can a mayor do to stop the flow of gentrification?
Well, the first thing I think of is why did blacks migrate to the city? Originally, if you go back throughout the years, the reasons blacks migrated to the city because they had opportunities for employment and for gainful life. So it'd be very difficult to reverse that unless not only the jobs that are available, they need to have jobs that are available to sustain themselves in San Francisco. So there's plenty of jobs. I'm an employment specialist, and there's a plethora of jobs, but they're minimum wage. The unemployment is down to 2.7% in San Francisco, but unfortunately the jobs, and I have jobs on my table that don't ever get picked up. Employers around the city are desperate for workers, and no one wants to do it because they're not paying enough. Wow.
So what is London Bree saying?
London Bree is about to speak at a job fair.
I'm really excited to see so many people here. I'm especially excited to see so many people here is because I want to make sure that no one is left out of the economic prosperity that exists all over San Francisco.
That's right.
Many of you know that I grew up in Plaza East, aka OC. Who's here from OC?
OC.
Okay, good. Just to make sure we papered that area, because I go over there and I see a lot of the young people, and many times they're saying, I need a job, I need a place to live, I need a job. And so we know in San Francisco, as we grow, as we move forward, it's important to make sure no one is left behind. Right. And the reason why we not only are holding this here, but we're going to be holding things like this at every public housing site, has everything to do with bringing the opportunities directly to the people who don't need it the most.
She talks a good game. Can she get the votes? Her supporters seem to think so.
Well, I'm Dr. Shelton, and I'm supporting London because I believe the best man for the job is a woman.
And I believe that she'll go down in the history book as the first black African-American woman to ever be mayor in San Francisco. So it's historical for me, you know, because that's what I'm about. This is Black History Humanity t-shirts.
Okay.
I think to piggyback on what Rev said, the one thing about when we talk about making history, we actually have made history. We actually did have our first African-American mayor. It was temporary, and we're going to fix that and get her in there permanently.
Now, with the dwindling population of African-Americans here in San Francisco, what do you think the chances are of London winning? Just get the pollination of votes, of course.
I'm very pleased to support London Breed as mayor. I think she has an excellent chance of winning. She appeals to all populations here in San Francisco. This morning she opened up a Sunset headquarters on Yolola and 26th Avenue. It was filled with mostly Asian constituents. So I know that she appeals to all populations, and I had all populations to vote for her in the past couple elections when she ran for supervisor for District 5. So even though our population of African Americans is very small, one does appeal to all San Franciscans.
London provides for everybody, and she cares about all people, all color, and you know, this would be our first African-American woman leading the city of San Francisco.
London Breed automatically gonna win. The first black woman in San Francisco. I've been knowing her since we was kids.
All right.
So London Breed automatically.
All right, well, Willie.
But will it be enough?
This is Dr. O'Farrell. Of course, we've been shooting the film Race for about 2 months and coming down to the day, June 5th, 2018. So one of the candidates is going to win, and we're going to be there to tell you who the winner is.
Okay, we're here in City Hall for the film Race. They're actually handing out the first sheets here.
I got a summary report if you'd like.
Yes, I would like that very much.
There's ranked choice voting results for the mayor.
Okay.
And there's Dee Dee, if you need it.
You got a lot of literature for us.
All right, we're going to have more for you.
Thank you, sir. So the first results are in. We're going to check them out, and we'll be following this all night long. With about 60% of the votes in, at least that's what it said on the monitor, we have London ahead, Mark second, and James third. In previous elections, with 60% in, how consistent has that been?
Yeah, my stock answer is I don't predict the winner of an election until I certify it at the very end. So that stays pretty much my answer here as well. Whenever a contest or a measure is vote, it's just a matter of processing the ballot. You know, you never know what's going to happen until you get through all the ballot cards and you get the votes reported. Like, I don't know.
It became obvious we weren't going to get the answers tonight.
Hey, this is Jacques Talaferro. We're here at City Hall, and we are still shooting the film Race. So, as you know, the election is over as far as the 5th goes. But right now it's the 11th. And I'm still here at City Hall because they're still counting the votes. And we're waiting to hear from the official election person, and he will give his latest tally at 4 o'clock. So the film Race is still shooting. Actually, the Chronicle endorsed London. Now, as a reporter, how do you stay ethical, you know, when your publication endorsed as a candidate?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. This is not the first time. This happens every time a newspaper goes out to make an endorsement of a political candidate or a political cause. The editorial board at the paper, and as in many papers, there's a 10-foot high wall in between the decisions that the editorial board makes and the reporting that folks like myself do, that reporters do. What that means is they don't seek my input on those kinds of decisions. I don't seek out their input in making reporting decisions. I make that with just myself and my editor and the other crew of reporters here. And I think the best thing to do really is simply to go back and read the stories. Go back and read the stories with an eye for bias. I stand by the stuff I wrote, and I try to approach every story with the same amount of utmost integrity. And the only way to prove that, though, is to go and read the stuff. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So thanks for coming on His Television.
My pleasure, man.
All right, man.
My pleasure.
Right now, we're rushing to City Hall because we just found out that London Bree won the race for mayor, and we're trying to get there in time for her acceptance speech. So right now, we're rushing, and I'm going to try to make this light.
I am so honored, and I am so humbled, and I am so grateful to the voters of the City and County of San Francisco for entrusting in me such an important responsibility to lead one of the best cities in the world. If it weren't for the patience of my teachers and my counselors and my community and people telling me to go to college when I didn't even know what college was, if it wasn't for the support of the guys who were hanging out, who basically gave me $20 when I was in college to say stay in school, if it wasn't for a community that believed in me and supported me and raised me and did what was necessary to make sure that I was a success, I would not be here. But the problem is, I am the exception and not the norm. And as mayor, I want to change what is normal in this city. I want to change the future. I want to change what is possible for the next generation. I want to make sure that they have plenty of opportunities in San Francisco.
So what lies ahead for San Francisco's first black woman's mayor?
One of the questions we are asking, since London has actually won now, under leadership of a few black mayors in, let's say, at least 11 cities that we're looking at, New York, Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, etc., the black population has dwindled. Are you telling me about a conference that you did with black mayors?
It was a celebration of the elected officials the same year that William Clinton became president of the United States, 1992. That was the largest amount of black elected officials of municipalities that happened in this country in over 100 years. And Tupac was right about how the decimation of the urban city under black leadership was idealized. Because then if a black person became mayor of a major urban city, then we saw resources dry up, which brought about a gentrification and a genocide that we weren't prepared to respond to. Sure, this was a time when we had black affluence economically, black influence politically. We still weren't in the boardrooms as much as we wanted to. So we couldn't control the mindset of those who were taking senior citizen buildings and turning them into co-ops, or taking schools.
So do you think that there was actually, let's say, a white lash as in opposite the backlash to a black mayor being elected, as in corporation people went out of their way to decimate the black community because of a black mayor? Or
Well, sure. See, a black mayor doesn't have the affluence of politicians who had already been in that position for hundreds of years, right? Okay. So they claim the territory which they govern. Now here comes a ethnicity, a culture that wasn't even prepared or was supposed to be in that office. They have to now either abide by the rules that were already set forth or take the norms that seem to restrict the growth of the population which they represent. And in a black mayor's case, unless he was elected totally by a mass of black votes, he doesn't have the governing power or the authority by which those white mayors had. Here in San Francisco, we have different cultures. We have the black culture, African American culture, we have the Asian culture. In New York City, we had the Jewish culture, we had the Puerto Rican culture, we had the African American culture. We were a united nation, so if a black mayor comes into office, he doesn't come in with the same affluence of authority.
So as Mayor-elect London Breed takes office, what can she do to turn that tide and start let's say, in-migration of black people?
Well, that's a tough one, because that's been happening over the last 20 years that we've left San Francisco. I've been here since 1955, and so I've seen it, and I felt it, and I feel it. And the economy here, and the opportunities. 3% of people in San Francisco are African Americans today. 80% of the 3% live in public and in subsidized housing. So that says something about us and how we're doing economically, the health of our economics in the city. And we're not being, how can she, let me get back to the question. Well, first of all, she has made it just by being elected and who she is and where she comes from and how very proudly she says who she is and where she comes from, and that anybody can be somebody here. But there has to be opportunity. There has to be, and to bring people back, they want to come back for something.
Right. So there has to be some jobs here for them to actually make a living at
some jobs, some
a wage
housing,
that's
some
comparable.
cultural experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tough question.
So what's your answer to this, Wanda? And you had something about a black mayor in Alameda, which I didn't know about.
Yeah, the mayor, I live in Alameda, and we had a black mayor. She was really, really wonderful, Marie Gilmore, and
I was wondering why you were looking down, but you were looking at information.
I wanted to tell you her name. Yeah, she was mayor. I think she did a whole lot for the island, and I think with her, more black people were welcome in Alameda, because Alameda has a reputation of not being friendly.
Okay. So she made that happen, okay.
She made it happen, and then she didn't get reelected because of something that she said, but she was really wonderful. Now Alameda, once again, is becoming really, really expensive and hard for people to be able to afford to live there. So with regards to San Francisco, we were talking before about San Francisco being a place where people who have education and not people that are struggling, which is, people who are struggling do need housing.
So they're always equating black people with like undereducated and struggling.
We need public housing and
exactly,
things like that,
exactly.
but that's not the case. People should be able to purchase homes, townhomes, condominiums, and things like that in places like San Francisco. How the new mayor is going to handle that, I think maybe the community needs to have a conversation.
Let the conversation begin. This is Jay Farrell for the film Race.
Some say I'm a little political, metaphysical, but nothing is difficult. And I'm kind of lyrical, but here we go. Race and politics, how do they intercross? Well, since the beginning, everything we've done is political and at all costs. We gotta go back to doing like we did before. Before the 14th century in Europe, when all the art was done by the Moors and all the images were black, but they took them away. So I try to bring it back to that very fact. Right now, today, it's okay. Check out the display.
So where can we find your art, man? You online?
www.flydyeart.com. FLYDYEART.com. or just Google me. I'm thoroughly saturated on the internet. Peace, that's all you're gonna get.
All right, cousin. Have a great day.
All right.